Hello, my name is Carl Robinson, and I want to do a literature review on how to teach self-esteem skills to incarcerated African American men in small groups. This was part of the dissertation I did, and these are most of the books that I'm going to be referencing in the paper. But I want to just do a little review of the books. Shake Hand to Diop, E.A. Wallace Budge, this book right here, this is the first Bible, literally. And this was a white guy who was the curator of the Egyptian and Assyrian collections at the British Museum in, I think, 1912. But anyway, this is your first Bible, and you heard of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but the book is really misnamed. It should be the Egyptian Book of the Coming Forth by Day. But E.A. Budge, real good book. The other book that had a big influence on me, because I had to deal with, in the paper, I had to deal with brothers who have lost their loved ones. I mean, when you're locked in prison, you are away from your loved ones, and I'm trying to teach not only self-esteem, but my dissertation focused on prayer. So this is the basis of the paper. Shake Hand to Diop, some of you know him, awesome. I learned in this book that the word Christ means he who is the keeper of the mysteries. So when I read that, I'm going all the way back, because he's interpreting this brother, okay? So you got to keep your sources. You got to, I try to do things chronologically, because later on, when you start talking about Muslim and Christian and Jew, you got to define what you're talking about. When you talk about the Masonic Lodge, this is the oldest one right here, all right? But he also says something else in the first chapter in this book. He says that what distinguishes men is not race, but blood type. And so, back in those days, it wasn't about as much as race. These were people who were migrating out of Africa into Egypt, into Europe for food. And when they opened up the bodies, of the mummies, they found out that they had a diet of raw vegetables and berries, and that was in that part of the land. So that all makes sense. All right, let me just start with a little introduction. Again, I'm just doing a literature review on some materials that you could use in order to teach self-esteem to African American men in small groups. My work with prisons tutored me in the subculture world of black prison life. These lessons compelled me to think more critically about leading profound change in black men who are incarcerated at no cost to the government. At no cost to the government. Now, the primary age groups of African American men who are incarcerated are between 15 and 24. At those ages, the frontal lobe of the brain is least developed in all racial and ethnic groups, according to criminologists and psychologists. Score that judges use when they do sentencing guidelines consist of what is the peer relationship, what is the inmate's relationship to amongst his peers, their child abuse, was there child abuse in your family, substance abuse, school problems, parental guidance, and a parent's prior incarceration rate. That's what judges use to score you as putting you in prison or in jail. They are bound by law to assess the risk factor in deciding what kind of treatment program the young person will adhere to. So the purpose of this literature review is to identify and summarize those theories of change which can positively impact this population resulting in deep change tactics for those black men who live behind prison walls. How do you teach angry black men self-esteem in a prison and do it in small groups? That's what this paper is all about. And I'm going to look at, everybody has a theory of change. I'm sure you've seen The Wizard of Oz, where, you know, Dorothy leaves her nice, comfortable home and she enters into the world of demons and short people and witches and all this kind of stuff, and she conquers those things. That's a theory of change. Freud, all of that, everybody has a theory of change. When it comes to black men, incarcerated black men, then some of those theories, I contend, just break down. But we can do, we can teach self-esteem better if we have to look at some more sources. So that's basically what I'm talking about. Utilizing what they call best practices in facilitating workshops for attitudinal deep change is a social justice issue and ought to be institutionalized as operating policy. Training facilitators with proper skills is key and should result in better survival skills for the inmates who live in a subculture of violence and acute emotional pain. People who are facilitators of meaning in prison need a model that connects with both inmate and their family system. A model is something that you can lean on. If it doesn't work, then get rid of it. All right? But we need a new model, and that's all I'm saying. This self-esteem model provides a step-by-step scientific approach to behavioral change. Facilitators of meaning, teachers, in other words, facilitators of meaning will be able to develop structures, processes, and strategies to create and maintain effective positive self-esteem, in which should lead to profound change and leadership. Profound change and leadership. Those facilitation competencies would be tone, assessment, handling difficult situations, and feedback, both verbal and nonverbal. We have to create a new person, you know? You got to create a new person, you got to help the person find their powers of change. And if the person don't have a desire to change, they're not going to change. So this is only a model. Now, what is the self-esteem model? The self-esteem model is a step-by-step process which consists of quieting the body so the mind makes renewed connections with the emerging self. You don't have a self, you're always changing. People want to say, oh, I'm never going to change, and, you know, I can't change. Those are witches and demons, you know, people who told you that, who've dead and gone, all right? You're never going to amount to this. That's not true. The real self is always emerging. In this